So today we're going to be talking about the bust of Nefertiti. Now, it's hard to know why she got a bust to begin with without truly knowing the origin behind it. Now, the history of Nefertiti, she's known as one of the great Egyptian rulers. But other than that, there's not all too much known about her. She was married to Akhenaten, who ruled for more than a decade. They had 6 children that were all daughters, which there's actually a theory that believes that Akhenaten actually was trying to father children with his children in order to get a male heir. She praised one god, Aten, which is also known as the sun disk, and she was described as having the perfect female body image. So what it means by that is that she was what all the females looked up to and tried to shape themselves around. Now, during Nefertiti, she was really known, as her rule, she was known as the beautiful one. Now, not much is really known about her, though. Like I stated earlier, she might have co-ruled or eventually become a pharaoh for a short amount of time on her own, but those are kind of just theories that were discovered. And had she become a ruler to begin with, she would have had to do mostly damage control and a lot of cleanup from the mess that was made before. Now, she was not really said to have been liked or disliked by the people. Now, some history of the bust. It was said to have been crafted in 1345 BC, roughly, by Thutmose. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it looks right. It was discovered on December 6th, 1912 by archaeologist Ludwig Borchardt. Now, he discovered it basically in the workshop with a lot of similar busts that were also said to possibly have been Nefertiti, but this was the one that was most well still put together, even though it's still missing a couple pieces. It was the most preserved. Now, there's been several arguments actually over the bust's current location. So it's currently located in Germany, and it was discovered by a German archaeologist, which would make sense. They would bring it back home. But a lot of the Egyptians believe that it should be returned to back where it was originally made, due to the fact that it is an Egyptian artifact. Now, Germans over the years have refused a lot of requests, stating that they should not have to return it because they were the ones that found it. Egyptians state, though, that it was really stolen to begin with, and it should have never left the country. Now, the argument's been going on since it was originally displayed in Germany in about 1924, and the Egyptian authorities actually demanded its return immediately when they discovered that it was on display. So the German argument behind it, they had not really discovered it, then it really wouldn't have been found. And someone else would have found it and also had a claim for it, and they would have taken it themselves. So the Egyptians either way wouldn't have gotten it. Maybe by now that could have been resolved, but there's no real way of knowing if that's true or not. So the Germans also say they have a better form of preserving it than the Egyptians, and that it's better displayed where they have it currently located. The claim is also that the bust has become too fragile to transport. Now, whether that's true or not is up for debate, but over the years, since it has been discovered, it could have become more fragile, which is why they think they can also get away with that claim as well. And Germans also say that if they had attempted to lend the bust or something, they would never get it back, and that the Egyptians would just keep it, and it would start a little bit of chaos between the two countries, and they don't really want any type of drama. So the Egyptian argument is rather simple. Its original home was Egypt, and truly it should be returned because it should always go back to the country of origin in which a piece was discovered, if we're being respectful. Now, the claim was also that the bust was stolen, saying that Egyptian authorities were actually misled, as kind of stated previous. So originally they were told that it was a just regular kind of female from back then, could have been some type of royal, but they weren't exactly sure, so they couldn't prove it, and blah, blah, blah. But I think realistically, in one of the diaries of Ludwig, he actually had wrote that he knew it was Nefertiti from the start. So they claim that since it was stolen and they were all misled, that truly it should be returned. And they also say that otherwise a loan should have been given out because they have a museum and they were attempting to display the piece there upon opening and just have a loan from Germany, but the request was denied, and that was when the Germans had stated that it was too fragile to move. And the current view of Nefertiti is that really, since there wasn't much known about her, a lot of people actually don't know about her to begin with. And so one of the big key takeaways was that she believed in one God. Because back in Egypt, it wasn't uncommon to think about other gods and believe and worship them or preserve things a special way. So the fact that she truly believed in one God and only worshipped one God, it was this kind of almost like rebel type thing. And it gave a true sense of how beauty was displayed back then. Everyone wanted to shape their body like her. They all wanted to have this perfect figure, this perfect face. And so everyone is going to do everything in their power to look like her. So for a final summary, Nefertiti was relatively unknown as a ruler, as some people even say she had died. And when it was the 12th year of her marriage, but that could also be a hoax, and there's not too much evidence to back it up. But they had said if she had come back, she would have gone under a whole different name and everything. The bust is still considered a really hot topic for Egypt and Germany, and even as recent as the 2000s, people are still talking about where it should be located. It should be returned, it should not be returned. And realistically, there's no easy compromise at the moment. Neither of the two sides are really relatively close. So there's really no way of knowing if they're ever going to solve it. And that's that.